So maybe you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, okay, but that's all fine. But I've already inherited this program that I have to manage and implement. It's too late to do what you're talking about, even if you agree. Well, maybe, but not really, no? Because if you're focused on objectives or outcomes or an impact that isn't a problem of high enough importance for the people you're trying to help, then most likely your implementation will be very difficult or have low impact, right? So it's, in my opinion, it's never too late. That's why I talked about implementing the paper or looking at the realities and adapting your paper to the realities, the contextual realities, the situations people find themselves in, right? But again, the low levels of inclusion of the people we're trying to help is a problem. So this low inclusion of the people we're trying to help isn't about political correctness, right? You know, there's a lot of talk about inclusion and dignity and all of these things, but they should have been always there, right? Because I mean, why would we implement something on a situation in a place with people without having asked them what they think about it, or if it's even necessary, or how would they do it, right? It makes no sense if you think about it. Imagine someone came along and did that to you. Hey, I've diagnosed your problem and I've diagnosed your solution, and here's what. No, I wouldn't like that, would you? So it's never too late, right? Because you can always relook at things. You can always build consultation, right? What we call engagement, right? Engagement is key, and it sometimes, for some reason, program managers either don't do engagement or are not allowed to do engagement, or it's not incorporated de facto into their roles. So they kind of think, or kind of the project coordinators there going, well, engagement, or there's kind of very limited engagement that is a typical setup might be that you have community health workers that are from the different population segments that have some tasks to perform in the communities and kind of report back, right? But the things, they're kind of, it's a good community engagement or good engagement strategy has to be targeted, right? Because you have to know what you want to know, right? It can't be just like random, yeah, or checklisty or the questionnaire or reporting back on cases of whatever, or number of people in the water point line or whatever, right? So it's not difficult to set up systems with your existing staff to inform you about what I talked about before. What is life-threatening, what is life-altering, and how are lives being altered, and how can my program affect positively or counterbalance the adverse situation that people are going through, okay? And I really think that it's just a matter of taking the time and planning it properly to figure out what's happening, how are lives being affected, what am I doing, what information do I need, how can I consult more, how can I consult better, how can I include people's knowledge, right? Because we're not talking about opinions, we're talking about knowledge, people's knowledge about their own lives into how I'm setting up and running my program. So maybe you can't change like the overall objective of your program, but you can change how it's set up. I'm not saying that you need to redo all of your program. What I'm saying is that you can, if you do it right, target information you need to run your program better, for better impact, and you can most certainly plan and set up your program to include people's knowledge about their own lives to inform your design and implementation and impact much better. We just need to have the will to do it, yeah? Because to not do it is kind of, it's flying in the face of dignity, really, right? If you and I think it's always useful to do what I suggested, is to try to apply what you're doing in the contextual reality of these people to yourself as if it were you, yeah? And would you be comfortable with what your program is doing if you were one of the people that your program is impacting, right? I think it's useful to do that to ourselves, because we always kind of like have an outward look, not the beneficiaries, the community, whatever, right? But I think we need to sometimes individualize it, no? We need to be able to see past the abstract grouping to the individuals that make up the different communities, the different groups, and understand how they see things. And, you know, there's no one opinion, there's no one life that is generalizable to a whole community or whole population, right? So we have to understand the nuances of everybody, right? And that everybody's problems will have a different color, a different shading. And we need to be able to see these shadings, right? So if a large group of individuals within my target population is focused on a different set of problems than my program, of course I'm going to have problems implementing it. And especially if I need them to be involved, right, or in some way, or use my services, or avail of whatever I'm doing to try to alleviate the pressure on their situation, right? It would be rare that we would be doing some sort of program that doesn't involve the people being actively involved in some aspect of it, right? So if they're focused on some other set of problems, they're not going to be focused on what you're doing, and you're going to have limited impact. So you have to understand what different groups of individuals are focused on in terms of problem solving, and how they're going about solving their own problems, and what's impacting on these problems, and how because they are active, right? They're not passive individuals just sitting around waiting for you to act. They're already acting because they're in survival mode, right? Or post-survival mode, and trying to figure out whatever to do, okay? So this is important. You know, to not include people in all aspects of program design and implementation, and the impact is just like, it's not very intelligent, yeah. We hold, of course, some organizational knowledge about how to do certain things, but we don't have enough contextual knowledge or knowledge about people's lives down to the day-to-day to even have a minor grasp of how the crisis is affecting their lives, right? Especially when we have no clue about what their lives were like before, yeah? And then we have often a lot of national staff or local staff there that we don't even ask either, who are also, apart from being national staff or local staff, from those communities, right? And can have very vital information that we don't bother to ask, because as soon as we hire them, they change from being from the community to being in our employment. And that change of status, for some reason, declicks some sort of weird switch in our heads that we forget that they are from the community and have a wealth of knowledge that we need to use when we are trying to figure out what people's problems are, how they're going about resolving them, and how we can help them do that faster.